So we just hit record. Welcome to the Arise Firebird Lunch and Learn, our weekly moment. And for those who are joining and watching the replay or listening to the replay, we are going to be having a bit of a session where I'll take you through the content. So we just hit record. Welcome to the Arise Firebird Lunch and Learn, our weekly. I keep making that mistake. It's how I'm recording it. So, all right. So welcome to our lunch and learn. And so we'll go through some of the main content, and we'll have some Q&A after. If you're watching the replay, you probably will accept that Q&A. My apologies, but you can join us on Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to get straight to it. So we're here, what we're going to be discussing today is beyond promotion, enriching your career on your own terms. So it's a lunchtime masterclass, and the replay we'll be putting the replay for the first part of this on YouTube. For the Q&A, we'll be keeping that offline. The vision for the sessions, just explaining why I'm doing this. So I really feel I want to create these lunchtime masterclasses to be like the number one resource for building adaptive resilience in the workplace for professional women, for high achieving women in high stakes workplaces. Well, that's high pressure, high stress, high risk, high dysfunction. You could be in a great place, a wonderful workplace, but it's still high risk just for the nature of what you do. And that does create a lot of tension for us and creates and adds on to the unique challenges many of us as women and women of color face. I also want to help you navigate this period of change. So a lot of you are going through periods of transition, and I'm hoping this space can be one that can help you navigate that. I want to create a judgment-free, safe space for us to have hard, sometimes bizarre, but essential conversations, and also create a community that can get you to help you get you to where you need to, and help get done what you need to get done. And really envision and deploy sustainable and strategic career moves. So this is really not going to be a space about just working harder and sucking it up, but really how can we think differently, reframe, reimagine what we're doing professionally. Ultimately, the goal with everything we do with the Rise Firebird, with this lunch and learn, is adaptive resiliency. Adaptive resiliency, that is our goal. That is our objective. How can you not just be resilient through sucking it up, but really in a nuanced, sustainable way that will help you achieve the goals you want to achieve in your career, without expecting the whole world around us to magically change. And a bit about myself. I removed that slide. All right, well, okay. So a bit about me. For those who don't know me, I'm Jimmy Okabanjo. I'm the founder of Arise Firebird Impactive. I'm also the director and producer of a documentary called Arise Firebird, Why Women and BIPOC Professionals Are Leaving the Corporate World. And I hope that this lunch and learn and the work that I do, my coaching work, can help answer that question. I have 20 years experience in leadership. I'm an operating officer in an engineering company, but most of my background has been around engineering, oil and gas, management consulting. I've done that for decades in 14 countries. I've worked with hundreds of executives. And so I myself am had a corporate career. And maybe another day we'll talk a bit more about that. So I made the movie to document the experiences of why so many women are leaving. Not because I want every woman to leave, but for us to recognize really what's at stake if we don't intervene. Even just within ourselves in a more sustainable, holistic way. And my purpose is to help high achieving professionals achieve and build generational wealth, so future generations have more choices. For many of us, how we're building our wealth is through our jobs. And I want to help people give you a route to be able to stay there in a sustainable way. And what we're doing specifically is helping high achieving women navigate their next career chapter by guiding them from transforming career uncertainty to decisive action without burnout or being overwhelmed. So with that, so given the context, we're going to go into the actual content beyond promotion, enriching your career on your own terms. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing. And yes, I'm just going to talk to you guys. So I did slides before, but I find it very difficult to do the slides and also engage with the chat. So we're gonna do it this way. If that's, I hope that's all right. And all right. So what I would encourage you, again, I'm going to be asking questions. So please feel free to. I'm going to encourage you to respond, question, ask questions, disagree. It's totally cool. And our goal is to be done around 40 minutes past the hour. So you have a lot of your lunch break back for those of you that are doing this during the lunch break. So career transitions. We did a survey a few weeks ago, and I asked my community, like, what are their biggest career questions, challenges, concerns, and the theme that came up by half of our respondents was, the uncertainty around transitioning. It was a pain point identified by a lot of people, and when I look at want to have coaching calls with me and want me to work with them, they're in a transition, or they're considering making a change, or they feel like something is career and something has to change. And I just want to ask you all, does this resonate? Are you in a transition? Are you thinking about transitioning? Just thank you, Kim, for waving your hand. Anybody else, you can either wave your electronic hand or in the chat. I'm thinking about it. I'm in it. I'm in denial about it. I don't want to talk about it. Jimmy, shut up. Just let me know where you guys are, where you all are in terms of making a change. And that maybe I'm trying to get a bigger role. Something has to be different, and I don't even know what that is. That's still in that space. So thank you, Celia. I'm thinking about it. Someone says I'm in it. I saw someone else raise their electronic hand. And so what I find is that high achieving women often feel stagnated despite exceptional qualifications, contributions, and exceptional results. Traditional promotion paths frequently fail us, particularly those of us in STEM, but it's not just those of us in STEM, leading to uncertainty about the next steps. And what I want to propose in this next few minutes is there could be a third way beyond stagnation or desperately pursuing a promotion. And I'm not here to badmouth having a promotion. I've gained from being elevated in my career, and I don't think that's inherently something we shouldn't strive to. But what I call career enrichment offers an alternative pathway that can put you back in control of your professional journey without waiting so much for your employer to make that first move. All right. So take a moment to just reflect a couple seconds. Have you ever felt like despite your effort, despite your hard work, despite even your black and white achievements, you don't feel appreciated or valued by your employer, past employer, present employer, historically? And again, put it in the chat if you don't want to come off mute. Just let me know in the chat. So again, it helps me know if I'm speaking to the right audience here. All right. So a couple people are saying yes. 100%. Right. So today I want to invite you to consider. I want to use the word challenge, but that might be a bit too aggressive. But I want to invite you to consider that the narrative about professional growth, that it must follow a predetermined path of linear progression, may not serve all of us. At least it may not serve all of us all the time in every single thing. And I want to explore career enrichment as a possible alternative. And I do want to stop and say that if what I'm sharing resonates with you, and you would like to discuss more with me one-to-one, I would like to invite you to I'll give information about that towards the end of the call, about how you could do that, so how we could look at how this potentially could help you in navigating your career. So if it does, let me know, and I'll provide some information towards the end of the call on how we could continue the conversation one-to-one. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is what I call the promotion paradox. And traditional career progression assumes meritocracy. You work hard, you get the results, you put in the time, you're nice to everybody, you smile, and in time, your work, your reputation will speak for itself, and you will be taken to the next step. And for high achieving women in high pressure environments, that often isn't the story that plays out. That is what they say. Like, that's the trailer. But when you actually watch the movie, it's very different. And that's the scenario where a lot of us were facing a lot of invisible barriers where this notion of meritocracy actually isn't real. And so while a company says it's based on your efforts, yes, hard work is going to be essential. Results will be essential to keep your job, but it's not going to be necessarily what's being considered when being elevated. And this disconnect can lead many professionals to accept stagnation, go along to get along. And stagnation, what I mean here isn't the dirty word of you should be working harder. What I mean is that we're stagnating at doing 200%. That's what stagnation is. We're doing that consistently day in and day out for not all the recognition, for not all the opportunities, and an acceptance that, you know what, this is just how it needs to be right now. And this constant need to prove ourselves, this constant need to be at 200% while receiving less recognition can create emotional strain and mental strain. And that leads to burnout, to overwhelm. And many women have mastered, and many of us have mastered our constant roles, and we are still overworking, constantly trying to prove, while simultaneously being underutilized and underrecognized. So this experience so this is what I call the promotion paradox, because we're doing all this work because we're promised it's going to give us this track, but at the same time, it is not. And our response is to continue doing more of that, even though it's causing us a lot of unhappiness or negative emotions, confusion, anxiety. So I want to ask, do any of us, anyone on the call, do you feel like you are putting in more than your fair share? That you have put in more than your fair share at work? And so yes or no, just in the chat, let me know. And how does that make you feel currently about your current situation? Oh, someone's saying yes, 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 didn't even wait. All right.
So I have a comment. So yes, we put in more work, and there are others who appear to not be. I am wondering if they are more organized than we are, or they're just, lazy and they only have this much when others have this much.
Can we see that question, Kim? And when we come to the Q&A, I'll tackle that question.
Perfect. Perfect.
A really good question. So career transition confusion. So this promotion paradox can actually confuse and amplify the uncertainty, confusion that we feel towards progressing in our careers. One example is, going back to my example of putting in 200%. You're putting in 200% of work to get told and to get the feedback that actually, you've only done 50%, or you've only done, so put it in numbers. You have a target of $200 million of sales. You bring in $200 million of sales. Gordon brings in $50 million of sales. And through some form of new mathematics, it is explained that $50 million that Gordon brought in is worth more to the business than your $2 million. And really, you've only done 50% of Gordon. So based on this new math, your 200 million is only worth 25 million. And that happens a lot in organizations. And as a management consultant, sitting on the leadership side of things, I've had the privilege, so to speak, and also being an executive, to see how the narrative around the numbers can change, can all of a sudden make 200 million on the P&L, dollars and cents, be worth 25 million. And so when you're doing that 200 million, you're putting in that extra effort. What happens when we show up and we start thinking about our careers, but what's next? We're coming from it with the energy of someone who's been working twice as hard or 4 times as hard, but with the confidence of someone who's only delivering 50%. And that can make thinking about what's next exhausting, because there's the energetic mismatch in terms of what we've been receiving. Now, this is not everyone's story, for sure, but but if this is your story again, let me know. And so what we're trying to do with the career enrichment space is to kind of disconnect really external validation from things you need to do or can do to energize yourself, to build yourself up, and to really reconnect and advance your career objectives. So many professionals then end up feeling trapped between staying in a stagnant situation or making the leap into an unclear situation that could even be worse. So, has anyone felt uncertain? Does anyone here feel uncertain about the next move because your traditional career path hasn't worked for you? Does anyone have any confusion or doubts or worries about what their next move or stage could be in their careers? Again, please put that in the chat if that's where you are. So before I go into, okay, what exactly we can do practically about it, there is one step that we need to think about that it's important that you do to begin to break the cycle of this promotion paradox that is keeping us overworking, doing 200%, 300%, and getting 25% working, confidence, is redefining what success is. Really sitting down with ourselves and thinking, what really is success for me? And you may say, well, I want to be the CEO of ABC Corporation. And but beyond the title, right? Assuming ABC Corporation will not exist in 5 years, 10 years. And that's likely with mergers and acquisitions and bankruptcies and such. The CEO of ABC Corp in 5 years could be a regional director after a consolidation and a merger. So what is success for you? Divorced of job titles, what really matters? Is it the accolades? Is it the money? Is it the power? None of these are inherently wrong, but understanding what really matters to you will allow us to make different choices for our careers that will make us a happier, more fulfilled, and have greater impact. If impact is what you want in your career. So it's important for us to ask ourselves that question: what does success look like? And how does that look different from what I'm actually pursuing? And that is something in my coaching program we spend a bit of time on, but for you, just to answer that question and give yourself time to kind of wrestle with that, because you may not be on a path that's leading into that space. And it may not be what you wanted 10 years ago or when you were 16 years old. Chances are it's not what you wanted 10 years ago, because we're growing as people. So take a couple seconds to think about this. If I remove promotion as a measure of success in my career right now, what would really matter to me the most? If I remove promotion and recognition, so assuming you are going to get promoted or you're not going to get promoted, assuming you're going to get the same level of recognition, whether so you're going to get all the recognition, some of it or none of it, it's not going to change. Just share with me, what would change in your career right now? What would change in terms of what you're considering, or even how you would feel about your career? If someone says, I would think how your colleagues feel about your leadership versus being an equal. Could you explain that? I'm not sure what that means. Or you can come off mute and just explain to us. You are now a leader over them. So yeah, you may think you're a leader. You may accept that you actually are a leader, that you are. All right. I would have the ability to move forward with projects without being micromanaged. So if you, so you pursue or taking a different approach, you achieve something they didn't. The mission of my work, what impact would bring my impact bring society. And that's important to understand. I love that mission of my work and what impact it would bring to my society, because that could be really important when thinking about your career enrichment approach. So when we talk about career enrichment, what I mean really is, well, I'll start with a short story. So about 15 odd years ago, I really wanted to do a TED Talk. And I remember speaking to a senior executive, a very senior vice president in my company, because he'd come, I was a consultant who was visiting the project. And I told him, I would love to do a TED Talk one day. And he laughed. It was funny to him. Like maybe a 7-year-old was saying, I want to do a TED Talk one day. And it was really funny to him. And he said, maybe one day you will have a TED Talk. And that was the end of the conversation. It was about 13 years later, I finally did a TED Talk. But wanting to do something and being able to talk and educate and share around mindset was really important to me. But my employer, it was a good company. They had many strengths, some challenges. This was not something that was ever on their radar to ever help develop me in this way. So, but had I done a TED Talk 13 years ago on upstream oil and gas, jumper connection, mindset and culture, if they would have done that, would that have helped my career in consulting? Hypothetically, it probably would have. But it wasn't something my employer was ever going to support me in doing for various reasons. Number one, it just wasn't in line with their priorities or their learning and development strategy. So what am I saying here is career enrichment is about strategically investing yourself in self-directed projects. It's investing your quote unquote excess, your capacity strategically. This isn't about taking on a part-time job. This is not about taking on 10 hours worth of work. This approach recognizes that high achievers often can do their job in their sleep. I had several calls this week with women coming onto my coaching program. And I asked a couple of them, like, you could probably get your entire work done in 4 days, 3 days, 2.5 days? And one woman laughed and said, yeah, she could probably get her work done in 4 days, 3 days a week. And so what takes up the other 2 days to 2.5 days? Well, she looks for things to do because she wants to have an impact. So she really, really makes sure that she's really, going above and beyond. And she's been in this role for 8 years, 8 to 10 years. So she's been in this job for a while. So that's why she really knows it. So the question I asked her was, what could you do if you could get, let's assume you could get your company support you 6 hours a week or 1 hour a week or 1 hour a month. What could you do with that? What would you want to spend that time on? And she said to me, she never ever thought about doing that. She just had to fill it with this busy work. So enrichment puts you in control rather than waiting for recognition from systems that don't value you. And this approach can work alongside traditional advancement, but it's about creating alternative pathways. And while I can't guarantee it leads to promotion, it can. It really can. But you're not doing it because you're trying to get promoted. You're doing it because you're trying to stay sane. You're trying to increase your impact. You're trying to develop other elements of yourself. For example, I know somebody whose goal was money was a big part of I need to be earning this kind of money. So one of the things we talked about for her career enrichment strategy was getting experience around the speaking circuit because she loves speaking. Now she's not being paid from day one, but she's got her day job covering her life while she builds up this speaking platform to start getting revenue from. That's because for her, money was a big driver. A loss of money was a big driver for her. I say this in the sense that there are just several ways we can look at this, look at doing the career enrichment. So what are some practical career enrichment strategies? One, you really want to build on your existing capacities rather than developing new ones. And you can use that to develop new ones. So if you love speaking, if it's something you're passionate about, do that. If you love acting, that could be what it looks like for you. I remember speaking to a woman who was a banker. She'd been a banker for 20 years. And she was now a senior manager. She felt stuck there. And so she was looking for parallel moves. And where our discussion landed for her was, she, one, could set up a discussion, a panel discussion with every single relationship banker with less than 2 years experience within her organization. And just once a month, share with them what she knows, answer their questions, help get them out of the bind. And I said to her, she thought about, could she do that? Yes, she could. She thought she could do that. How long would it take her to do that? In a month, she said, she estimated a couple of hours a month to put that together. And then I asked her, if you did that for a few months, do you think your senior vice presidents would eventually want to be part of that platform? She said, absolutely they would. I'm not sure I want to invite them, Jimmy, but it's something they probably would want to do. Now, could that lead to her getting promoted? I don't know. And I don't think she's doing it for that reason. Because for her driver is much more about having impact. But her being able to do something like that kind of project that was low energy for her, but high value for other people, allowed her to, one, connect to something that she's really passionate about, really, really passionate about, showcase her expertise. And so it, and actually indirectly makes her more visible. And those were things that were important. What are some examples of things you could do from a career enrichment standpoint? A mentoring circle, you could write a book, a non-executive directorship, get more involved in your leadership and your professional associations. Help your professional associations do some research, do some independent research, collaborate with the university professor to do some research, become a technical authority, or some other form of thought leadership. Some people have decided to go and do their PhDs. But the key thing with doing this is it has to be really key to what your passion is, what you really care about. And that's why the question about what matters to you, what success means to you is most important. Because if we do these enrichment projects from the standpoint of, if I do this, I'm doing it only so that these people will appreciate me, then you can burn yourself out pretty quickly. But what are some of the what are some of the gains from doing this? Well, one, it will help you build an alternative network. These kind of tasks, whether it's just taking an intern out to coffee once a month or setting up a round table with your counterparts across the industry once a quarter, it builds an alternative network for you outside your employer. It allows you to be known for what you want to be known for in rooms where you may not ordinarily be invited to. It also allows you to, it re-energizes you because you're connecting with your passion and within your career. So with that, I will say that what I would ask before I read the questions, and there are quite a few in here, is if you're thinking about doing something in terms of career enrichment, the first thing would be defining what success means to you. What does success mean to you? And then what's the one small thing you can do? So you may think, well, Jimmy, I'm going to write a book. Well, you're an overachiever. So I think a lot of you would think, yeah, I am definitely going to write a book. But as overachievers, that may be a bit much. So maybe you can start with an article. It may just even be thinking about a newsletter, interviewing people in your industry once a quarter, once a month, collaborating with other people to talk about what could my book be about. So start small, really start small. This is not about overloading yourself. Build on your existing strengths. Select projects that genuinely energize you, even if nobody understands what that is. So if your desire is, really on the management of change, upstream oil and gas, and you want to dig into that, that's absolutely okay. And also establish clear boundaries to ensure sustainability. Don't start by doing something that'll take 4 or 5 hours a week if you don't have it in you. And take the time to reflect on what that would be. So that's what I have for you today. And I will now, before we go into questions, I just want to reiterate, if anything I said here resonates with you, or you'd like to dig a bit further into what this could mean or how this fits into your wider career transition, you can book a call with me. We call it career confidence call or career energy call, depending on what you're going through. And we can have a bit of a one-to-one chat. The purpose of these calls will allow me to do a bit more of an assessment, dig a bit deeper into what that could look like, what your next step could look like for you, or what the next step in transitioning could look like for you. So please feel free to do that. Now, I'm going to stop recording at this point. So I'm gonna stop recording.